Hey, everybody, I'm Dan Porter, old CEO, welcoming you to a young CEO with my favorite NBA player, entrepreneur, and CEO, Kevin Durant.
Going on, buddy? How you
We're
doing?
going to chop it up. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions here. And ultimately, I think what we really want to talk about is kind of what goes into the mind of somebody who's a really elite performer. Because I think as a CEO, in a way, you have all the same challenges as being on a team, leading a team that last minute. And kind of the first question I wanted to ask was I always feel like when I'm watching, it's like 3 seconds left and you're on the inbound. And like, do you want the ball? Do you want to take that shot to win the game? Or do you feel like trash if you lose the game? Like, what is going on in an elite player's mind in that moment?
Uh, well, you definitely, myself, I want that opportunity um, to put my team over the top, especially late in the game. You practice for all of those moments. You dream about all of those moments. Uh, but at the same time, you realize that a lot is on your back, especially if you want to win a basketball game. I mean, it's a huge thing winning a basketball game in the NBA. So it feels like a lot of pressure, but you know, after the game and once you review the shot and once you continue to keep progressing throughout the season, you realize those moments are beneficial to your growth as well, make or miss. And so just putting yourself in that situation has always been something that, I wanted to experience.
Do you think that every single player wants the ball, or do you think there are players who are like, not me? I don't want the scrutiny. I don't want my team hating on me, the fans hating on me.
I think initially everybody feels a little bit of angst when you right before your number gets called. You want to do well. Like I said, you prepare and practice for those moments all the time. But it's like getting on a roller coaster. Once you finally do it, you realize that it's not as bad as you think. So once a lot of guys get that experience, they just want it over and over again.
Interesting. I guess, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I remember trying to get people to give me money the first time I ran a company. And after I got the first 10 no's, I was like devastated.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I just got to get to a yes.
Yeah, yeah. It makes it a little bit more fun now that you got a bigger challenge.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing I wanted to kind of ask on that realm is a lot of times when we're reading or watching about a team, we hear like the locker room is really cohesive, or we hear there's chaos in the locker room, whether they want that to get out or not. And I'm wondering, kind of like, how do we as like CEOs learn how to like make a tight locker room? Like, why does that happen, and what does that feel like?
It goes down to the leadership. I think everybody has a role within the team or within a group in different departments. And if you got good leadership in each department, their message is going to ring true through everybody that works for them, or that's in our case that's on the floor. Our coach is the main leader, and if our principles are not aligned, then it can cause a disconnect between the team and the coach. So as long as everybody's on the same page and we got one singular goal that we want to achieve, then we all know our roles and how we can help contribute to that goal. So, it starts from the top and it just bleeds down to the bottom.
And so I guess messaging must be like a
Yeah.
real part of that, like hammering home that kind of message. And is it different for every team, or is it just like we want to win?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. Its terminology is different. The game is played the same, but more importantly, I think correcting mistakes when they happen, not letting them fester. Speaking what's on your mind in the moment. And holding everybody accountable from top to bottom. And once that happens, you start to get better over time, and you start getting more comfortable with having conversations with your teammates. Once you problem solve and try to help them find solutions to get out of where they are, and you only could do that by talking to each other and getting to know each other personally. So it goes a long way, just, consistently having that dialogue with people you're working with.
So it's almost like taking the shot. It's like if you break the ice on a bunch of these things, you just start to get comfortable and they become natural. And that's how you grow as
Most
a
definitely.
leader.
Most
How
definitely.
how one of the things that's like so much pressure for a CEO is you have to motivate people and
Mhm.
you have to lead them, and yet every morning you have to get up and you have to motivate yourself,
Yeah.
and like you have to have a bigger motivation. How do you motivate yourself, or like what are the things that like really motivate you?
Well, first of all, enthusiasm is something that you have to have when you if you come into work and you're trying to do something that you love. Once the enthusiasm is gone, I think that's the foundation. And so I just try to, I enjoy coming into the gym and actually, figuring things out on the basketball court. And I think my teammates see that in me and they get inspired as well. And also obviously off the floor, having experienced so much stuff, we can have conversations about things that may be coming for younger players ahead. Just being 12 or 13 years in the league and having 3 or 4 teammates with that same experience. Now off the floor, and these guys are learning from us, from our mistakes, learning from our experiences, and asking questions every day on what we did to get better. So once you have that experience off the floor, and then you have that work ethic on the floor, you hitting both verticals, and your coaches are inspired by that. Your GMs are inspired by that by having conversations with you. So it's just, it takes a lot of development in order for you to lead a group in a proper way and in an efficient manner. So it's a process.
So does that mean like as one gets more experience in the league, you become kind of a teacher as well? Is it more like you're a hype man, or is it more like you're a teacher?
I think it's always about the balance, but you having conversation and answering questions, no matter how small or big they are, especially with younger players coming into the league, and not just about the game, about, what may happen on the business side of things, what may happen off the court, how their family's life has changed by you making so much money and being in this life. It's a lot of questions that come about in the locker room, and you have to be prepared to tell the truth for one, but also let guys know, the mistakes that you've been through. So being vulnerable is a huge thing as well, as if you want to, lead guys in the right direction.
Interesting. One other thing on that end is I think a lot of times I've run companies where there's the argument that one group of people will say like we'll be successful if we have all A players. There's all superstars who work for the company. And there's another group of people who say like you can't manage all superstars. You need A players and you need B players. If
Yeah.
you were think like where do you fall on that side of the debate?
I feel like if you have I think it's more challenging to get the most talented, people in one room and make them and get them to focus on one goal. I think it's harder to do that, and I think it's easier to have guys, the underdogs, to lead them in the right direction. They're looking for a leader, but guys that have their own personalities, that have their, own opinions on things, that have their own routines, it's harder for you to get them all on one page. And I think that would be a cool challenge, and obviously having the most talent is always great, but to have them focus and get outside themselves and realize that they may not be good at one area and this other guy may can help them. I think you see the beauty of a human when they put their egos to the side and work together.
Do you on that, like once you were an underdog and then you were not an underdog, was there like one moment in your head when you're like, I'm going to the league, or was it like a gradual moving from underdog to not underdog? Or you woke up in the morning and you're like, this is it. I know I can do this.
Yeah, it was a gradual thing. I always felt that I like my coaches and my parents, they always put in my head to never have that underdog mentality, because you wanted to be here. I told them this is what I wanted to do. So I felt like every time I stepped on the floor, I was held to a standard of being the best player on the court. Even if I was the youngest, even if I didn't play a lot, I had to be the best on the court. And what that meant was like be the best version of myself, play as hard as I can, do the things that I worked on, go back and think about things that I prepared for, this moment that I prepared for. So I always felt that. And it was all about seeing where my skills matched up along the way. So that's what I mean when it was a gradual thing for me. I always knew I was good, but I wanted to see if it's going to translate to different situations, and it happened to do that. So I just gained more and more confidence as I was playing in different areas. And, and as I got 17, 18 years old, and I started to see the NBA and playing against guys in pickup games that play in the NBA and guys that got a little bit more experience than me, I was like, okay, I can deal with them too. And now it became a reality.
So in that process, do you feel like is it the mental game then that holds people back who have or is it their natural physical skills? Like you're talking about a process of testing and growing and testing and growing, and that's like a very mature kind of mental game. But I'm curious whether there are other people who just never get to that point, even though they have the best skill set.
Yeah. Look, God blessed me so much with my body type. I think I was created to be athletic and play sports. And I didn't want to, use what I had and waste what I had. So and I feel like your body obviously to play this game you have to be athletic, but your mind has to catch up as well. And I feel like once you find that balance of going back and forth between playing the mental game and the physical game, then I feel like you've mastered it.
When you were on that kind of rise up, how do you figure out who to trust and who not to trust?
Man, the game was my compass. Like I understood the purity of the game and what it meant, like camaraderie and thinking about your teammates and wanting to see your teammates do well. So I just gravitated towards people that felt that way about basketball, and and obviously you have your times where you may be wrong about something, you may be off about something, but more times than not, I let the game guide me, and it's been good to me.
What was there something you did or played or studied like totally outside of basketball that kind of influenced your whole journey?
Yeah, I found myself studying a lot of musicians, a lot of like architects, like I guess creators and artists, people who spend a lot of time by themselves crafting a skill. And so I was studying individuals, a lot of different individuals just were interesting to me. And I wanted to see how they got to that point of mastering their craft, from a Basquiat to a Dr. Dre to a Michael Jordan to Jay Electronic. I mean, from all types of people I feel are great at what they do. Elon Musk, I see somebody say Elon Musk, guys like that who really spend a lot of time thinking, Kanye West. I try to, just try to, see where their perspective was and just try to take it from and make it my own and do my own thing.
Yeah, no, I love biographies because instead of telling you somebody the 5 things you need to do to succeed, you just read someone's story and you figure out from that kind of what those are. So to that end, do you feel like in life it's more important to break the rules or follow the rules?
Like I said, it's about balance. It's times where you have to break them. It's times where I feel like, it's good to follow the rules. But more times than not, to get where you want to get to, you're going to have to push the limits a little bit.
And how much in all of that, and I feel this in business, like you look at people who start companies and it's just the wrong time. Like you could have started Uber before there was a mobile phone and you would have gotten nowhere. And that's just kind of like luck or not luck. How, do you think about like being good or like what role does luck and timing in that kind of play in your mind?
I was having this conversation with a friend the other night, and we said, if you stay true to what you love and you do things for the right reasons, the universe is going to reward you. And by that, it's like it's going to place you in the right space at the right time. You never know who you'll meet that provides you with an opportunity. You never know when there's time, when somebody else's timing is a perfect timing for you. Like, it's just, I feel like a lot of times that that something is guiding us, you know what I'm saying? If we stay true to what we love and do things for the right reasons. And, some things are out of our control. We can't explain. And that's the beauty of life.
Yeah. So when you think about that, do you ever think like, oh, if I could go back and live my life over again, there's something I would do different?
Yeah. When I see my nephew walking around, I'm like, yo, if I could go back and with all the knowledge that I have now, my life would. I wonder how things would work. But it's just as always a fun exercise to think about that in your brain. But at the same time, you appreciate all the stuff that you've been through that bring you to this point. But it's just been so much time where it's just you crafting and you thinking for yourself and you figuring things out in the world, and it's just like and it brings you to this point. It's just like I said, life is beautiful.
Yeah, I often hear people say almost like education is wasted on the young. Like when you're in school and learning, you have no life experience and you're not ready for it. And by the time you're ready for it, you're so far out of school.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like, man, should I go back to school? I definitely feel like I'd be more effective at this point in my life.
Yeah, and you kind of know what you want to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know more yourself. You figure out your flow and your rhythm of life. So yeah, it's weird how that stuff works.
I have a funny question that the first time somebody asked me, it really made me think. But and this was the question: what's something you believe to be true that you think few other people believe to be true? Like a truth that you feel like you're one of the few people who really believe that.
Damn, that's like one of those. You an hour in with your friends and you figured that question. You figured out the answer to that.
Yeah,
question.
I'll go first, and then
maybe I can just piggyback off you.
I think for me, I think a lot about learning. I went to school. My kids went to school. I teach at a university, and I think there's this belief that we're all on this kind of path, and it starts, and then we go to college and we major in something, and that it's logical and that we can control it, and that's how we end up where we end up. And the reality is like it's less popular because you can't say to a college student, oh, you know what? You just might get out there and you might sit next to somebody on a plane and they might tell you they might have some job and you might end up doing something else like that, because how do you prepare for that? You don't take a class and sitting next to somebody on a plane.
Yeah.
It becomes very disconcerting for people. But I think about everything that's happened with overtime and with my career and how much kind of luck and just embracing the randomness had to do that. People sometimes say to me, what did you major in to start overtime? And I'm like, I majored in American history. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. It's not like a perfect path, like to get where you are. Like a lot of people do believe that it's like, if I put myself on your path, I can get to exactly to where you are. It's just like, it's a lot of stuff it doesn't pan out that way. It's like everybody has that individual journey. And that brings me back to like trying to answer your questions. Like I tell a lot of people, like we're individuals at the end of the day, and we love to click up and tribalism is a thing in our society. But it's like once you find yourself first, then it's better. Then you can know how it is to work with others, and it takes some people longer than others to find themselves. Their journeys are different. Everybody's journey is different. So that's sometimes it's frowned upon if you want to take your own individual journey separate from your family, separate from the society that you grew up in, you lived in. It's like it looks like it's frowned upon, but I think I encourage it, because you end up making yourself way more well-rounded person that way, and you can work better in a group once you figure that stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's very balanced. On that idea of that journey, I was thinking a lot about obviously everything that the NBA went through, shutting down the season, coming back, putting all the stuff on the jerseys, turning stadiums into voting, like a whole kind of movement and an embrace of social justice and social activism. And then every day you read the news and you feel like we're making zero progress. And like, how do you think about that? Like, you're doing everything you possibly can to change the world, and yet it feels sometimes really discouraging on the other side as well.
I think all of us knew as humans is a cap on what we can do when we just want to spread awareness. I mean, it's so much awareness can do. And I think individually, a lot of people are trying to go out and impact somebody's lives. I think that's the most important thing. If if we all had a mentee, you know what I'm saying, and a mentor in life, I think if we all, it's like each one teach one. If we continue to just pass down just a small bit of knowledge to one person, and they continue, and you encourage them to do the same things, and that's just a cycle. And I think more importantly, that's what we need as a country more than anything. Obviously, voting and making your voice heard is, if it's important to you, then cool. But like, it's all about, getting to that next person and really impacting somebody's lives in a positive way. I think if we do that, then things are looking forward. And politics is feel like it's taking over our world right now, and I would love for everybody to know our world is way bigger than just politics at this point. And if we understand what that is and still live life, then you see things are looking up.
Basically, you're describing almost like the love, like we need the love.
Yeah,
people to pass it on. All right, I'm gonna ask you 3 fun questions before we take some questions, just because number 1 is, if aliens landed on Earth tomorrow and offered to take you to space and you could never come back home, but you'd go to their world, would you go?
I won a championship, MVP. Nah, I wouldn't do it. There's some stuff I got to do on Earth first. Dan, that's a great deal.
All right, fair enough. I think it depends for me, like what food they're serving on the spaceship. But
I know the technology is. I would love to see the technology. I know it's next level.
If you had to eat one meal every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Spaghetti bolognese.
Wow. Okay. And last, a basketball question. Who are some players who you think never got the respect they deserve, who we can kind of shout out for the audience here?
Past players or current players?
Past or present, whomever pops in your mind.
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, formerly is Chris Jackson, played at LSU. Back in, I want to say, the 80s, played with Shaq, was incredible. That's the guy that turned his back during the national anthem. He got a lot of heat for it, and a lot of people turned their backs on him. But from watching his highlights, he was incredible as a player, like, and a master at his game. You know exactly how to get to his spots at 6'1". Somebody is great when they play the same way from middle school, high school, college, all the way to the NBA. And that's what he was. He played his exact game. I loved his game. That's one guy I wish got more credit and for how he played.
And a huge risk taker in his day, for sure.
Huge risk taker, and still inspires so many people to the day. I got huge respect for him. I know a lot of people know Hakeem Olajuwon, but I think he's in the running for like the greatest player ever. He's in that conversation to me as far as like a pure masterful, like perfect basketball player. He did everything great. I wish he got more love in those conversations.
Do you ever find yourself going down that like YouTube rabbit hole where you start watching highlights of like?
Yes, yes, of everybody, especially the current players now. Like I'm watching highlights all the time.
Hey, what's going on? I'm still laughing at the alien question, to be honest. That was a good one. But let's open it up to the young CEOs. Young CEOs, grab the mic.
Yep.
Okay.
How y'all doing?
What up with you?
Man, chilling. I just had first of all, big fan of everything that you've accomplished. I'm in sales for Wilson, young CEO. I do my own thing, consulting. I know you've gotten a lot of questions throughout your career. My question is, what is the one question that nobody has ever asked you that you want to give insight on about you?
Shit. I never thought about it like that. I feel like I wish more people would ask me, just like Dan, he asked me some great questions about life in general. I wish more people asked us about, our perspective on just life, you know what I'm saying? More so than just hoop and the shit that really doesn't matter,
Yeah, for sure. Also, huge fan of everything you got going on too. So if there's ever any internship opportunities, anything like that, Would love to figure out what that looks like for sure. All right, man. Appreciate y'all for the love, man.
Shout out to the hustle.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see if I can get somebody else.
All right, let's ask one more question.
Okay.
Yeah, this guy's still.
I try to get a high school student.
I love that. I'll tap in with you another day. I got questions for days.
Oh, we gonna lock in at some point.
Sure. Doing well.
So my question is, I noticed that you recently were invested in the Philadelphia Union, and I was wondering if you would be, considering investing in a women's sports team in any sport, and if possible, if I can get involved with you. How can I reach out? And how I can get involved?
We're on a board of just women's sports league. That they have a few baseball league or volleyball league, so we've been involved with that as well. But yeah, of course, we definitely love to invest in women's sports. I think is needed at this point, and is booming at this point. You're just seeing women's basketball is getting more coverage. Soccer always been there too, so yeah, of course.
Thank you.
No doubt.
Great. I think we got 1 minute. 1 minute left. In the last minute, I'm going to ask you a question. Larry wants to play in the NBA. He has zero chance of ever making it, but you don't want to completely crush him. Tell him he's not going to make the NBA, but build him up. What do you say to him?
You had a good run. You got a lot of support in other fields. I think you should pursue that. You still can be involved with the game. I mean, they got pickup games. You can conduct your own. You can still go work out. But I think your career is in another place. You're very talented in other areas.
And I'd appreciate
it. So much nicer than any coach I ever had.
That's awesome. I just want to say thank you, Kevin and Dan. That was a great way to kick off this experience.
Woohoo! That's the one right there, Larry.
I know. I'm trying to tell you that Joe was fire, right? If you want to check out the rest of the videos, they're right here for you. And subscribe. Right here. We need you. Chloe, let them know.